Hey guys, Airsoft Al here, and hey, where you going? Where you going? And well, since many have been asking, and believe me, you guys have been bugging me on my phone, on my newly acquired Facebook, on my newly acquired Twitter, private message, of course, not in public. I don't believe in making my public matters public. Oh, my private matters public. Scratch that little thing. Not that. You know, never mind. And I believe my cat would agree. When you kidding? You see? She agrees. Hello. Hello. But aside from that, though, from the title of the video, you can already guess, this is basically to talk about the different militaries of my little fictional world, being the Otaku Army. So, let's dig into it, shall we? Before I get into any more, detail as to what it is, why don't I go ahead and give a little bit of backstory to the backstory of the backstory of the backstory. So, okay, so basically, Y2K, that actually happened in my little world, and that's what fuels the actual, okay, that's not what actually fuels it, it's what actually causes the little factions, but, yeah. So, here's how it goes. Basically, the Otaku Army was originally the Otaku, the Otaku Nation was basically the Otaku Nation in 2001. Yeah, 2 years it took them. It took Japan to form the whole thing, and yes, Japan did indeed form this, led by Funimation, ADV, all the big corporations, basically, except they were actually led by the creators. And it wasn't until they came over stateside and then they said, you know what, we need a military. So the JDF actually was then renamed to the Otaku Legions. Kind of sounding a bit too old world, they basically decided to call themselves the Otaku Army. Not a lot of diversity, is there? Now, what's actually interesting is the fact of the coalition, the Console Coalition's military was actually, well, the U.S. military, just a bunch of gamers. But yeah, it wasn't until 2012 happened, which didn't happen, so don't worry guys, no doomsday thing. It wasn't until the Otaku Army actually said, okay, we need different things. So they basically took it from an anime, okay, now let me just go back a little bit further, my bad, I skipped something. Basically, the Shinobi Corps were made. Now, Naruto came out, thank you, Shoujin Jump, and they basically said, okay, Shinobi Corps, basically being special forces, Navy SEALs, Green Berets, SAS, G6, MI6, you guys can take a good guess. And, pictures should be annotating on the screen real soon, and you'll be hearing only my voice. So yeah, you'll be seeing the pictures in 3, 2, 1. So when Naruto came out, the Otaku Army had an opportunity. They basically said, okay, let's take the badassness of these guys and actually use them. So the Hidden Leaf, well, not really Hidden Leaf, they basically got rid of the Hidden and went with just Leaf, Sand, Sound, and Mist. Each battalion, regiment, and squad, basically you could go ahead and take that if you're actually military. Now, each person actually is sort of a thing. Now, the Leaf battalion of the Shinobi Corps is basically specialized in jungle warfare, guerrilla warfare, advanced recon, things like that. Now, I know a lot of you are probably saying, oh, that's so basic. No. The Leaf battalion is basically modeled after the Green Berets. Now, as for the Sand battalion, Hidden Sound, for all of you Naruto fans, the Sand is basically specialized in, and I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for saying this, but Afghanistan-styled warfare. Basically, they're good in the desert, They're good at using the desert to their advantage. And, well, let's face it, the sand is ruthless. They're based off the SAS. They're cunning, skilled, and efficient in killing. Now, when it comes down to the sound. Now, sound is a bit different. The sound battalions are strictly intelligence gathering, but when it comes down to a fight, they will use, well, in a sense, sound to their advantage. They use concussion-based weaponry, they use concussion-based explosives. They basically use sound as a weapon, as well as a disorienting device, as well as being good at bugging your phones, bugging your internet, which means all the hentai you looked up, they're gonna see it. So, I'm just kidding, I'm kidding. Or maybe not. Bum bum bum. Okay, moving on. And as for the Mist Battalion is a amphibious-based force. They're like the SEALs. And yes, I mean the Navy SEALs. Meaning they're in the air, they're on the land, and they are in the sea. And that's about it, really. Now, as to whether or not you actually will hear anything about them, this is how it works out. Each battalion is designated to that specific battalion's job. Much like the Leaf, being with jungle warfare and what have you, they will break you. They'll basically push you to the limit. The Sand, if you ain't dead by the end of that training, you're lucky. The Sound, not a lot actually. They're kind of like the Air Force. You better have a high level of intelligence if you're wanting to get into the Sound Battalion. And as for the Mist, well, let's face it, it's basically the SEALs. If you ain't dead, then you're in. Now, as to whether or not the effectiveness of these guys are at, well, let me just go ahead and base this out now. The ranking system is basically the same, except there's and this is my little bit of an order, so correct me if I missed a few ranks. You have private first class, corporal, sergeant, staff sergeant, master sergeant, sergeant major, lieutenant, first lieutenant, either lieutenant or first lieutenant. My bad. I missed specialist between PFC and corporal. My bad. Captain, major, colonel, and then you got the generals, basically. And then you have the commanders, of course, but that's a little bit of something different. But aside from that, though, you guys can play around the ranks if you want. That's something I've been trying to get out there. But aside from that, though, now one thing I've been asked when I talked about this with my friend was, are the people real? Is the voice actor who voice acts Kakashi actually there? Is the woman who voice acts the person you're seeing in the picture here real? Well, that's kind of hard to say. Now, I'm not going to say yes, and I'm not going to say no. All I can say is, I'm leaving it up to you guys. Because the otaku fandom is what actually fuels this thing. And me being an otaku, I kind of like to think, though. I mean, heck, you're not going to stop seeing endless pictures of bikini models of the shinobi girls. But aside from that, though, each one, sorry, there was a bug on my arm, is different. Each one's fight style is different. Everything about it is different. Now, when I said beforehand about the certain things of it, I meant it. I legitimately meant there are different militaries in my little world. And what I meant earlier about the Consul Coalition being based off the actual U.S. Army, U.S. military, my bad, I meant it. Basically, the Consul Coalition's military is the U.S. military, just different. And that little bit of information is for, and the expounding on that information is for another video for another day. Now, I can't remember exactly when Naruto came out, but I know it was basically the Shinobi Corps were made in the roughly between 2004 and 2007. So I'll give you a good window of when it was actually made. So yeah, there you go. But aside from that though, as for the actual military structure, now this I did not touch on. The military structure of the society, of the actual the military and political structure of the Otaku Nation and the Otaku Army, the military and politics are kept strictly separate. And who leads the great Otaku Army? None other than Shiro Masamune. Yes, you may go, oh! Now, I haven't said there's a Section 9, because to be honest, I haven't figured out how Section 9 would fit in this, but if you guys can figure that out, please put it in the comments below. But, aside from that, though, what I can say is this. Basically, the creators of anime, like Naruto, Attack on Titan, High School of the Dead, Death Note, all those action-based animes, things like that. Take all those creators and the guys who did the manga, and there's your military high command for the Otaku Nation and the Otaku Army. Well, my bad, for the Otaku Army. Now, take all the guys that are on the level with, with the guy who created Cowboy Bebop and Hayao Miyazaki. Take those guys, take the level of those two, and there's your political structure of the Otaku Nations, of the Otaku Nation. Now, something I haven't touched on is the fact of, you've talked about the Otaku Nation, what does it look like? You said it's in the capital, you said the capital is where, basically, Funimation's HQ is, so yeah, I'm gonna show pictures of a concept of what the Otaku Nation looks like after Y2K, and what Texas looks like after Y2K. Yeah, I'll do that. So, the picture should be coming on in 3, 2, 1. And voila! This is Texas modern day. Yes, when Y2K hit, basically Japan partnered along with the what was left of Texas, as well as a good bit of other people, and basically rebuilt the city. Yeah. There's shopping malls, there's the council buildings, there's everything you could want in the Otaku Nation. And right now, I'm making Texas sound a lot better, aren't I? Yeah. It's kind of sad, actually. So, now that I've gotten a little bit off subject, I might as well go ahead and get back on subject and talk about the other thing. Now, when I said beforehand about this, when 2012 didn't happen, this is what I meant. 2012, the Doomsday didn't happen. The Revelations didn't happen, all that crap didn't happen. And I'm not harping on anyone's religious beliefs, but 2012 didn't happen. Sorry about that. Now, when the anime Attack on Titan came out, the Otaku Army, as well as everyone else, looked at and said, you know what? We should make a scout regiment. We should make the trainee corps. We should do all this. So the military basically got together with the creator of the Otaku army, with Attack on Titan, and basically said, okay, this is how we're going to do it, and this is what each regiment is going to be. And they mean regiment, as in this is a regiment within the actual Otaku army. There are different regiments, but each regiment is a certain thing. So, the different regiments should be annotating on screen now. Okay, so, when I meant the different regiments meant a different thing, I mean, you have the Unicorn Regiment, and I call it that because that's what that picture is, the Trainee Corps, Scout Regiment, and then the Rose Regiment, which, again, roses. I can't remember the actual thing of it. But, the training corps, or the trainee regiment, or the training boot camp regiment, boot camp is basically that. They're trainees. They're cadets. And in the actual show, Attack on Titan, that's what they are. They're referred to as trainees, they're referred to as cadets, they're referred to as maggots, basically anything and everything there. But in the show, it basically, you choose after you're done with your training. Now with this one, when you actually enter into the cadet school, or the trainee corps, or what have you, you basically choose the different classes that you want to take that will basically go into your regiment that you want to go into. Now, the trainee corps is basically set up like West Point. West Point is basically that. Basically to train you for the military. So you have the basic corps, so you can go the traditional route where you basically go through the basic steps of boot camp, training, what have you, and that's it. And then, of course, you have the untraditional approach where you can actually choose the classes that are specific to the actual regiment. Like criminology, law enforcement, what have you, that goes to the military police, which I will be touching on that when we actually get to it. Advanced sniping, combat training, all that stuff, that's the Scout Regiment, which is going to come right after this section, so if you want to go ahead and skip ahead to that, to the Scout Regiment, by all means do skip ahead. Now, then you have engineering, demolition, artillery. That's the Rose Regiment. But, like I said, the trainee corps, or the cadets academy, basically that's basically it. It's basically a military school. It is a military academy. Now, you have a choice, besides joining the Otaku army. You can also just take the school like a normal school and leave. Just take what you've learned out into the world. That's it. Like, that's legitimately it. You can just join and go. But there's also another thing. Propaganda. Like this one right here that's that's coming up on the screen. The training corps. As a soldier I swore to devote my heart to the resurrection of mankind. There is no greater glory than dying for that belief. Now, what I like about this propaganda poster is that the fact of the devotion of one person's sole drive to the resurrection of mankind. And I like that because, well, one, the world that I've put this in is basically after the events of Y2K, the supposed apocalypse where all computers basically crash. And two, the three regiments that are below, the engineers, the scouts, and the military police basically have their own way of doing things. Now, in the show, the Scout Regiment is a death wish. It is literally, you will die if you join this regiment. The engineers are basically, well, they engineer. They make cannons, they demo, they do all the stuff, they maintain stuff, they do all those things, but they still fight. The military police, well, that's another story for another day. Now, the Scout Regiment. This is where I can fully blown go into it. The Scout Regiment is the Marines. 1st Recon. Basically the best of the best. Frontline engagement. These guys go in first, they fight first, and they fight hard. They identify targets for the other regiment, which rains down metal on them. Now, that's not to say that it's not that. Now, the Scout Regiment is also known as the Scouting Legion in the anime. For the glory of humanity, this poster says. And in a basic sense, you can basically say, okay, that's it. But for the Scouts, it's literally this. We're fighting on the front lines for our people, for our way of life, and for our freedom as otakus. That's basically the Scout Regiment in a nutshell. Now, the Scout Regiment itself is trained like the Marines. They are pushed, they are fighting, they are toughened, they are hardened. Literally everything about them basically says, you train with us, you join the Scouts, you're going to be going into hell. Feet first into hell. And that's basically how it is. And that's what I love about the Scout Regiment, in my opinion. As anime goes for a fictional military, I love the Scout Regiment because they don't bullshit about what's going to happen to you. They basically say, you join us, you're going to die. No ands, ifs, or buts. But, aside from that, though, the Scout Regiment, the way I use it as a frontline force. I use them to identify targets. I use them for scouting. I use them for frontline, just literally as Marines. So basically, you become a Scout, you never leave the Scouts, even though you're fully retired. Just like if you join the Marines, you're a Marine for life. That's basically how it is, and that's how I treat the Scout Regiment, and that's how I see the Scout Regiment. And that's how the Scout Regiment is used. Now, as for how deep is the Scout Regiment, as in military-wise, well, like I've said beforehand, each regiment is diverse. The Scout Regiment has a sniper squad. They have a first recon squad, which is basically sent in even before the whole regiment is sent in. They have an armored unit. They have a demo unit, which is another one that's going to be coming up real soon. Is the I'll speak about that after we're done with Scouts. Each person in Scouts has a squad of its own thing. There's a first squad, second squad, third squad, fourth squad. You get what I'm saying, guys. Each unit is diverse with different squads, which are used for different means. So, if you try to say one thing about one particular regiment, you're going to be wrong on certain levels of how deep they go. But as for their usefulness, in a basic sense, this is how it is. The Scout Regiment is the literal symbol for democracy, for freedom, as said by the Wings of Freedom here. Literally, you see those wings, you are seeing the Otaku Nation fighting for the rights of humanity. Because that's all it is. The Otaku Army, as well as the Scout Regiment, is fighting for humanity's right to be free and to do whatever the heck they want. That, in my sense, is what an Otaku is. And that's what I love about the Scout Regiment, is I can see them like this because they're the best of the best of what the Otaku Nation has to give. So, if you ask me right now, what do I think is the best military in anime, or I can use from anime, I'll flat out say the Scout Regiment, because those guys have got balls. And that's what it takes for the Scout Regiment, is basically balls, nerve, and guts. Now, as for the next regiment that's going to be coming, it's a bit of a different story. Now, the Rose Regiment, as I like to call it, is basically the engineers. They are explosive ordnance disposal, they are artillery, they are, in a basic sense, they're near the front lines, but they're there. You have the combat engineers, and then you have artillery, as well as long-range attack. Well, let me go ahead and break this down now. The Rose Regiment has, in my opinion, 5 sections. You have the combat engineers, which are on the front lines with the Scout Regiment, which disarm bombs, or plant bombs, demolition, what have you. You have the regular engineers, which basically build bridges, buildings, stuff like that. Then you have explosive ordnance disposal, or EOD, which deal with IEDs, landmines, what have you. Then you have artillery, which is a stationary branch, which is near the front lines, but rain down metal on the enemy, any position whatsoever. And then you have the mobile artillery, which is just that. It's a mobile artillery. Now, this here, it's basically that. They are a stationary guard for order and peace. Now, I like that, in my opinion. It's a very cool statement. But the way I see it, and the way the anime has shown it, in Attack on Titan, the stationary guard, or as I like to call them, the Rose Regiment, is, in a sense, engineers. That's it. They build nets, they build bridges, they fire cannons, they do all this stuff that a basic engineer corps or even an artillery division would do. And the Rose Regiment is just that. They're engineers and artillerymen. And that's all you really need to know. Oh, that, and of course they're medics. I forgot to mention that. A corpsman, well, I would say a corpsman, but a medic is a medic. But specifically, what kind of medic? Now, stationary guard, in my opinion, can be seen as different things. I like to see it as a regiment that is not only stationary, obviously, but also done differently. Now, what I like to see the Rose Regiment as is what I've said beforehand, but also add in actual surgeons, like in MASH, or a MASH unit, which MASH stands for Mobile Army Surgical Hospital. And that's what I like to see the stationary guard as well as a MASH unit, or a combat hospital, in a sense, where the wounded who's choppered in or dropped in or what have you is basically fixed and then sent back to the front lines. But at the same time, they have their combat medics there as well alongside the combat engineers. But again, all regiments have a medic in some way. Okay, maybe not the one that's going to be coming up after this, but you get what I'm saying. And you get what you got. But the regiment that's going to be coming up after this one, oh boy, I'll explain. Let me just go ahead and get this out of the way now. Ha! Okay, I'm not laughing at the symbol, I'm laughing at how they're portrayed in the anime. Attack on Titan's military police are... I hate that I'm saying this, but they're idiots! They're lazy! They're good for nothing! I mean, yeah, sure, they'll make an arrest every so often, but if they're not accepting bribes, they're... Oh boy. Okay, let me just go ahead and explain how I use the military police. The military police, the way I use them as actual police. I use them as law enforcement, but at the same time, I use them... Sorry, I had to make sure that my mic was working. Hello? Okay, there we go, now it's working. I use them as National Guard as well. Now, what I actually like about it is the fact of... Well, the military police is not only being used as a National Guard, which will be on the actual thing to actually defend against foreign invaders should they break through the lines, but also make the simplest arrest, because that's basically what you would get in the cadet school. Basically, if you go for criminology, law 101, all the good stuff to become a lawyer or a police officer, that's basically how it is. Now, this little statement here, I like this, because it's funny and you can make so many jokes. For His Majesty the King. Wow, yeah. Yeah, I can definitely think of a few things to say here. Where to begin? So, basically, the military police, as I've said in the anime of Attack on Titan that were used, they were used... literally as just a bunch of rear echelons, lazy, good-for-nothing, worthless hunks of space. I mean, yeah, sure, they make an arrest every so often if you found them or you were doing it near them, but they basically had a philosophy of, if I didn't see it, it didn't happen. And they accept bribes to basically do whatever. Yeah. Kind of stupid in that sense. But aside from that, though, the only other thing I can think of that would actually make it a little bit better is the fact of so much crap that happened. But the way I use the military police, again, is used as National Guard and as actual law enforcement. And that's about it, really. I mean, that's the only thing I can see any use for them. I mean, yeah, some of them will see frontline service just like any other branch, but that's about it. Well, that's basically it, guys. That's all I could muster up with the short time you guys gave me. But, yeah. Well, since you've stuck around this long, all I can say is this. I'm proud to be actually play as a member of the Scout Regiment, as anything, in my opinion. But aside from that, though, the only other thing I can think of at the moment is some announcements. I've been in contact with Charles Battersby, as you may know him from Shoddycast, GNN, which I have referenced many a time on my actual little radio show, which I am going to be putting out more reviews, guys. Don't worry about a thing. You'll be getting your reviews, damn it. So, yeah. And I will be doing some thoughts on some things, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, But, aside from that, though, I've actually got a surprise for you guys. You stay right there. Finally got one. Finally got a GoPro. And to be fair, it's not a Hero 3. It's a Hero 1. But it does the job. It just does the job. So, once the weather gets a little better, you're going to be getting a lot of footage from this little bad boy here. But, you want to help out more? Simple. Donate to our Patreon page. I will put a link in the description below. And I know that the thing on the Patreon page is a bit of a charity yanker type thing, but guys, listen. Any penny counts. And what Preacher, which I'm calling him by his call sign, I don't want to call him by his actual name, so that way you guys don't bug me to find out more about him. He may make out little cards, but guess what? From me, you will get a personal thank you video, and if you put your email address in the comment section below and you donate $10 or more, I will make a personal, and I do mean a personal, backstory video just for you, and I will email it to you. And maybe I'll get a little something, maybe I'll get some help from Shoddycast as well. But until that time, guys, I want you to stay good, stay otaku, and die otaku. And for those of you who are gamer, stay coalition, die coalition. And yes, a explanation video for the console coalition will be coming out soon. It might pop up right next to this video here, so keep an eye on my channel. Thank you guys for watching. This has been Airsoft Owl, and remember, pick your regiment wisely, because picking the wrong one might not be good for you. Health-wise, I mean. Stay pretty, guys. Wait, what?